Today I'm going to tell you the way to craft the perfect 3-minute pitch. And that's what we're talking about on today's podcast, Gaining Ground. My name is Daniela Siggia, and I am Chief Strategist and Creative Director at Black Ram Media Group, Inc. And as a strategist, part of my job is to help my clients maximize opportunities that they are given to make pitches. Sometimes that means sending a photographer, videographer to capture the moment that they're giving a great presentation so they can use it later. Or it would be me helping them actually craft what they're going to say and sometimes even make the PowerPoint presentations for them. That is all stuff that I do under the milieu of a business consultant, as I actually create the media that my clients will use professionally, often at trade shows. So often you hope that you get asked to be the keynote speaker, but on your ride up to keynote level, sometimes you're given opportunities to maybe give micro presentations, usually 3 to 5 minutes at a trade show or symposium or conference or things like that. And that really narrows the scope of what you're able to say, because 3 to 5 minutes does not give you a lot of time. It can if you approach it properly, which is what we're going to talk about today. But usually people, they really mess up the opportunity. Not mess up, but maybe don't leverage it to the extent they could have, because they approach the writing of a 5-minute speech the way they would the writing of a 30-minute speech. And you just can't do that. And if you're someone like me that does better without a pre-written speech, so I'm not one to write my speeches ahead of time, I will make myself point form notes that will remind me of the stuff I want to talk on, but that's it. And I will ad-lib all of it. And that's when I'm at my best, when I work organically like that. But when I have a half hour or a 1 hour and a half class that I'm guest lecturing on, I have lots of room to do that. But when you only have 3 minutes, and even if they say 5 minutes, I would urge you to prepare for 3 minutes. So then this way, you know that every single point you need to make, you're going to make in the first 3 minutes. And then now you have an extra few minutes to ad-lib where you want, to massage a few, spots if you feel the audience needs it or wants it. And maybe even give you an extra minute or two for Q&A, which can be very helpful as well. So even if they say 5 minutes, I'd prep for 3, right? So knowing that, now that means that you only have 450 words that you can use. So when you're approaching something the same way you would write a half-hour speech, you could see how that could become very difficult. And then what you end up doing is you write this really long speech and then spend 3 days condensing it and cutting things out of it, which has a very different end product than had you gone into it looking at 450 words to start, right? So instead of I'm going to write 1,000 words and cut it down to 450, instead I'm only going to write 450 to begin with. You will end up with a different speech at the end, and you will end up with a better speech if you don't use the haircut route, is what I call the other one, where you write what you want to say and then you cut it down. That's a haircut job, and will affect the end result, and not in a good way. So let's talk about then, okay, so how do we approach a 3-minute speech then? Before we even start writing, before we start thinking about what we want to say, what are the things that we have to look at? So the first thing you look at is that number, so 450 words. The other number you want to keep in mind is the number 30. 30 is the maximum number of words, and even that is a lot, that you can put on a slide, on a PowerPoint slide. If you put any more than 30 words, people will stop listening to you and instead will read the slide, right? So the mistake a lot of speakers make is they make their PowerPoint presentation their speech notes. So then what they end up doing is they're reading the slide as their audience is reading a slide. And I don't care how great your information is, that is one boring presentation that's not going to stick in anybody's mind, which means you can only have 30 words per slide, and a 3-minute presentation is about 4 slides. So even though your speech is 450 words, what you're able to put on the slide is a lot less than that. So, oh boy. So now it's okay. So I really don't have a lot of words here. right? So what words do I choose? Okay, so now we shift our thinking to who's sitting in the audience. Because the problem is that if you've been around a while in business, you could talk about a lot of things that your business is doing. And maybe your inclination would be, well, I'm going to talk a little bit about everything because I never know who might be in the room. But usually you know at least 80% of who's in the room. And of those 80% of who's in the room that you know about, there's only a small fraction that are actually going to be useful to you, right? So right now, your business must need something. An investor, a new customer, and if it is a new customer, what kind of customer? What are they looking for? What are they into? What problem are you able to solve? Start to really, narrow it down to, we call it like 1 inch wide and an inch deep, right? So really know of all the 150 people, 300 people, 500 people that are in front of you that day, who are the 20 that you hope come ask you for a business card or ask you for a conversation, right? You want to go home with, 5 or 10 really solid leads and maybe, 20 really good networking moments in that time that you're at this trade show. So even though there's 500 people in the room, you don't need to sell to all 500 to make that a successful day. So in your own mind, narrow down who are the people that you need the most that need to come out of this speech. So now we're going to forget everybody else and we're going to tailor our speech to those people in the audience. So we're going to remove all the other fluff in our mind. Those 4 people, those 5 people, what is it that they really need to know that's going to inform them or give them the impulse to come and talk to you? That will actually go to the website and send you an email, before they even leave the trade show. What do they need to hear from you in order for that to happen? So when we're breaking it down into slides, and we want to talk the slides before we talk the speech, right? Because the slides are going to be the crib note, not the actual speech you read, but they will be the visual that's going to give you the cue for the speech. So your first slide's kind of a write-off because that's your title slide, right? So make it dynamic, get your name in there. If the company has a slogan, if the project you're trying to pitch on or the specific thing you're going after, even if you have a lot of products, but you're really there to showcase your new product, let's say, maybe you want to put that on the front page. So just a quick visual, bang that subconsciously will hit them in the face and say, okay, I'm here to learn about this thing today that I am interested in. Now, at that point, with the title slide is you can do your brief introduction. This is who I am, yada, yada. Now you flip to the next slide, and your next slide is where we're going to switch things up. So your next slide, you're going to divide in half. On one half of the slide, you're going to put your corporate highlights. Again, remember, only 30 words total, and we're only using half the slide now. So this has to be 15 words, 15 words maximum, right? So very, very short little blurb about, or the corporate highlights. What are the 5 big milestones, or the 3 maybe is even better, big milestones the company's already accomplished, and leave it just at that. So this is not a place to give the history of how your company came to be. This is why we impress you, because we've had 5 government contracts and 2 awards or whatever it is. Just give the 15 word maximum highlights of your company. The other half of that slide is you're going to put in bigger font who you're actually calling out. So normally when you do a pitch deck, you don't do this. Normally they would say, you talk about the company and how great you are, blah, 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 and then way at the end you say, oh, by the way, we're looking for $5 million. Whatever it is that you're looking for. We're going to switch this out because those 500 people that are in front of you at a trade show are hungry, have to pee, or are bored. This is the 15th presentation they've had to sit through. They're all starting to sound the same at this point, and you just want to go home. So what we want to do is on, slide number 2, that first slide that is really the meat and potatoes where we're talking about why your company is so great, you're going to call out that customer. Remember I said out of the 500 people there's only 20 you want the business card of? So we're going to call out who those 20 are, right? What exactly are you looking to gain from this 3-minute speech? Call out that customer. call them out. We are looking to network with business development people or whatever. We're looking to partner with a new researcher, whatever it is. I want you to say it right there in that moment, because whoever is in the room that fits that category is going to wake up and say, oh, that's me. I better pay attention. Time to pay attention. Okay, so we're going to make them pay attention before you give them the milk and cookies, right? Right now, we're going to whet the appetite by calling them out and making them, stand at front and center. You are who I'm speaking to. Let's make that very clear at the outset. Now you're going to go to slide 3, which we're calling the case study slide. So there you just want to pick 3 main points that highlight your success or the benefits of whatever it is that you're pitching. And it would be great is instead of using a whole bunch of words, you'll be saying the bunch of words, even that will be measured, but that's what you're going to be speaking on. What you want to do in this slide is you want to use visual representations or nothing more than a bullet point. And then use your speaking to inform them the details and the context. Because remember, you don't want people reading your slide. You want whatever's on that slide to burn in their brain. So let's say there's one specific statistic that's really fantastic about your product. Will make your whatever last 10 times longer, or whatever the case may be. Use that really big. And then you fill in the context with your words. Because the idea with this slide is the people that are in front of you that you're speaking to probably aren't the ones that are going to make the ultimate decision. And it's probably not just them that's deciding. So what's going to happen is they're going to spend these 3 days at this conference and they're going to listen to, 80 people give these kind of speeches. And how much of that are they going to remember? So they're only going to remember the points or the things that really hit them hard and burned in their brain, so that when they go to work on Monday or the next week and they have to give a report to their boss, they're only going to give the highlights of what really hit them. So everybody else that's giving these long-winded PowerPoint slides that, you got to squint to read it all, none of that's going to be recalled. What they're going to remember is that one stat that really knocks them out that was on your proposal, right? So the stuff on this slide, you want it to be digestible and easily repeatable. So this is the stuff that you want them to leave the room, call their boss and say, hey, I just found this company that's doing this and they've achieved this on their whatever. Easy to remember, easy to repeat. And if you information dump on people and you give them a lot of stuff, they're not going to remember any of it. So it's better to give them just a few top level, the best of the best morsels, and then let them come for you to hear more and ask for that subsequent meeting, which is what you really want from that. So that's your case study slide. Then what you're going to do is you're going to move to the next slide, which is again broken in half. On one side, you're going to put the what to expect working from you. So what is it that working with you, what's the difference? And I don't mean this as a positive value add, because we care about our customers. Everybody cares about their customer. Like, come on, you can do better. You know what I mean? So I want you to think of, because we already have done the foundational work and our product is ready to go to market with a little bit of energy or whatever it is, chunk it down and make it very clear and practical at what someone can expect when they partner with you in terms of how are you going to make them money? Always remember that too. How is working with you going to make them money better or more money than they would with somebody else? So give them a real, true answer. This is not where you feed someone bullshit spin. This is when you give someone a practical reason why you are worth pursuing. And the other half of that slide, you're going to kind of sort of repeat, but in a very different way. What do you welcome? We welcome discussions with potential investors. We welcome new partners. We welcome new research partners. We welcome new whatever it is. This is the part where you're, again, calling out who you want to speak to. Let them know very clearly. Don't wait for them to say, hey, he's talking to me, or I wonder if he's talking to me. It's like, no, he's talking to me. Make sure it's very, very clear that you're approaching, what you actually welcome. Ask for what you want. And then your thank you slide, always be very polite and humble. Thank you for your consideration. And then put the contact info. Again, easy to read and remember. No one's going to remember a phone number, right? And if you have a really long, awkward website, or you have a really complicated name, the email is not going to be very helpful either, right? So you want to find a way where they can reach you easily, even if that means getting an easy to remember email just for this purpose. I would keep that in mind, for stuff like this. And then again, even you might want to end with saying, for anybody who would like to reach me further, I'm going to be spending the next half hour, in front of that booth or in front of the bar or whatever it is. If you would like to come and have a discussion, you will see me there in the next half hour. And then that way people, okay, I don't need to remember this guy's name. I know exactly where he's going to be in the next hour. Let me go find him. So you want to make it really, really easy. So now that you've got the slides organized and designed and you know exactly what you need people to know, now you write the speech. And you definitely write a 3-minute speech, because as soon as you start talking about your company, especially if you've been around a while and you've done a lot, you're going to go over your 3 minutes in your first slide. If you do it ad lib, you only have 450 words. And when you only have 450 words, you really, really can't work off the cuff without forgetting a point, without missing a thing, without whatever. So you want to pre-write your speech with those slides in mind. And again, 450 word max. And memorize it. You don't want to be reading it off the paper. That's terrible. 450 words, you can memorize that. Memorize it. And then if you've memorized it front and back and whatever, then when you get on stage, then you can ad lib. At that point, you can massage things, insert a joke, read the room, and respond accordingly, especially because they've given you a 5-minute limit. Your speech is 3 minutes. You got lots of time now. Now you've got lots of time where you know everything's going to be said that needs to be said. And depending on the room and the moment, you can be spontaneous and insert things as you go to make it lively. And you will be confident because you'll know exactly what you're saying, right? It'll be well rehearsed. You're going to feel very confident, and that's going to come across too. So that is my tip for making the perfect 3-minute pitch. And to summarize, don't forget to call out your dream audience member right out the gate. Get their attention and remind them again at the end that they need to come talk to you and why you're the person they want to go to for this. And maximize that opportunity. Okay. So remember, don't go in thinking, I'm here to talk about my company and why we're great. No, go in thinking, I need 2 of this kind of customer, or was something very clear and direct, and have that in mind before you even start working on the thing. And the end result, the end product will be very different and will be one that will be practically useful. You could give a good speech that is nice and interesting and whatever, that doesn't result in any sales. You might impress people, you may be professional or whatever, but it won't result in a sale, right? Or you can give a good speech that is professional and impresses people, that results in a sale, that results in revenue. And they're both good, but I'd rather have the one that results in revenue, right? So you go into it with that in mind at the outset, and you will see a very, very big difference in how you approach it, how you deliver it, and the results you get from it. And as you're working on it, keep in mind, go get them. Okay, everybody, thank you for joining us today. If there's anything you'd like us to cover further in this series, feel free to reach out at Daniela, Daniela, at blackrammedia.com. And if you're looking for other ways to grow professionally and expand, you may want to check out our free app called Growth Sphere. The link will be in the video description. Growth Sphere is a free app download that has audio courses, and we'll be adding some video courses as well that helps you on your path to professional development. Right now, we have a free class on there called Mindset Reset, which will help you set the foundations for success, and that's a free class. And then we also have a masterclass audio series called Power Play, and that is for aspiring politicians that are looking at setting their life and career up for ultimate electoral success. So if that's something that you're hoping to do in the next 2 to 5 years, that is definitely an app you want on your phone, and it will get you ready to take on the world. Okay, everybody, have a fantastic day, and we'll see you next time at blackrammedia.com.